Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. So we're on episode 3 of Mo Dao Zushi, and already when I put episode 1 on YouTube, I was so happy with how many of y'all like instantly replied. You guys were like, awesome, and I didn't realize exactly how intense this fan base is, but after seeing the first 2 episodes, I get it. I get it. It's kind of like Banana Fish. It's just the fandom's like, this is awesome, and I have a feeling I'm going to be on board with you. So I didn't get a chance to say this in episode 2 because I'd already recorded it when I put episode 1 on YouTube. But I want to go ahead and give a little shout out to these YouTubers because y'all were awesome in giving me some extra information, some links to some really cool info about the series itself. I've made notes, just a quick overview. Most of it was just clarifying some things that I did have some questions about, such as the zombies. Getting clarification that WuXian didn't exactly make the zombies, he can just control them with his powers. And I'm like, okay, cool. I also like, there was a definition of the cultivator's power and the demonic arts. And it's kind of like the comparison that I was given, which makes the most sense to me because I'm watching it at the same time, is with Jujutsu Kaisen. You have the curse energy, and then you have curse users who kind of manipulate it and deal with like resentful energy and negative energy. So it's quite kind of this cultivation of energy to use against curses and demons and etc., zombies, what have you. And then you have the demonic arts, which is kind of more using resentful energy or negative emotions. So I thought that was really interesting. Obviously, WuXian can manipulate the resentful energy and using demonic arts through his flute. I also thought that made a lot of sense with Shan Yu summoning him, because it seems like Shan Yu had a lot of resentful energy towards the Mo Clan at the beginning of episode 1, so it makes sense why he was brought back. There's still questions about that, and I'm hoping that eventually by the time we get through season 2, they all get answered. The only reason I say that is that I was told that most of this season is a flashback, which I'm fine with. If that explains all of the events leading up to episodes 1 and 2, I'm totally on board with that because I want some answers. The other thing was examining the idea of the sext, the clans, and knowing kind of the relationship. Like the 2 guys with the land clan at the beginning are not necessarily Wangji's brothers. They're just in the same clan, which kind of makes sense. When we got in the end of episode 2, when we went to the land clan, it kind of reminded me of Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. And it makes sense because with the elves, you've got the clan that stays in Rivendell, and then you have the Lothlorien clan. So I get that. That makes total sense. Also, I even commented on episode 1, but last episode it totally escaped me that Cheng is the foster brother of WuXian, but also the guy that killed WuXian. So it makes sense why WuXian was so freaked out when he first saw Cheng again. He was like, oh crap, this is the guy that killed me. I'd probably have that reaction too. I also think it's interesting that Ling, I love Ling. Like that guy, I feel like the girl off Brooklyn Nine-Nine, she's like, I've just met Ling for 1 episode, but if anything happens to him, then I will kill everyone in this room and then myself. Because he's so precious. I love him. But he is Cheng's nephew, and his mother is the one we get the flashback of, and apparently WuXian's killed her. I'm sure there's more to the story because the expression on his face in the flashback was crazy. So I get the feeling that there's more to the story there that we're not privy to yet. But yeah, just thank you all so much for the information explaining kind of the family dynamics. The only other thing mentioned was that General Wing, we got him in the last episode. He was the zombie that came up to attack the statue. And the reason why WuXian was so like psyched out by seeing him as a zombie is because he was apparently a friend of his in the past. And we're going to get more on him. So I feel good knowing that information going into episode 3. That makes me feel a lot better. I feel like I'm like, okay, cool. That was information, exposition I need to know. But otherwise, I really love where this show is going to in terms of WuXian. I think one of the things I like most about the show is that it's so formal. And I don't know if that's a cultural thing with Chinese animation, but the characters in this story are so formal. They're all very proper and polite and formal. And then you have this chaotic gremlin, WuXian, who's just thrown in here being like, hey, what's up, guys? Let's mess stuff up. And it's like, oh my. So I'm curious to see the flashback of him and Wangji's relationship, because Wangji is an interesting character. Like, he's so stoic, but I'm like, you have to suspect something's up with Shan Yu, who's actually WuXian, because Cheng seemed to think something was up, but they eventually convinced him otherwise. But it's like, I'm curious to see this flashback. I want some answers to my questions. So I hope you all enjoy this reaction. Thank you all so much for watching, and we are going to start episode 3 of WuXian here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Guys, this episode was really, really good. Really good. Yeah. I getting to know the dynamics between Wangji and WuXian is just so good. And I said in the reaction, Wangji reminded me of Byakuya from Bleach. If you know the anime Bleach, Byakuya was Rukia's brother in that series, and he presented himself as a very stoic man of principle and dignity, and was just like this righteous force of straight, lawful good. But under the surface, Byakuya was really emotional. Like, he was using this stoicness as just kind of a front and a persona to hide the fact that he was a very emotional person, but he was just hiding behind this facade of this stoic, classy upbringing. And I feel like Wangji, especially by the end of this episode, is kind of... At first I was like, oh, he's not like Byakuya, but I'm kind of thinking he kind of is. Because he really gets frustrated with WuXian when WuXian just keeps pressing his buttons, and finally he just can't take it anymore. And so I wonder if he really is an emotional character, and he's just using this as a front. And he's like, no, this is what I'm just using this as a front for... I don't know. I'm really curious. So I'm curious to know more about his character and what we end up finding out. That's interests me quite a bit, you know. But WuXian, this gremlin, such an interesting character. I just love that he's like, well, why don't we do this? Why isn't anybody doing this? And just questions all these things about the system. And of course, the head of the Land Clan is like, no, that's awful. And he's like, well, nobody's tried it, so we don't know. So I like the idea that he's saying that he's bringing up all these things. And of course, Cheng, the brother, is like, why do I put up with you? And they're not blood brothers. They're just kind of like adoptive brothers that have grown up together. Which is so sad, because I'm wondering too if the wing guy, the kid that we saw with him, if he really is the general that ends up... Let me look here at the character sheet here, just to see, because I want to know. I want to know. Okay, so he's from the Ni sect. Okay, so maybe it's not him. But, man. So he's not Ning. Okay. But Ning was from the Wen Clan. Interesting. Man, just very interesting. We get the preface that Cheng's sister is the one engaged to the Yin clan leader, who's super pompous. Super pompous. We get that right off the bat. He very much thinks he's... Which I'm glad that you know, Ling isn't like him. But... interesting. So I want to go back to that part of the episode and look here where they're explaining ghosts. I'm explaining that part here. Okay. Yes, here we go. So knowing the difference between spirits, demons, ghosts, and monsters. So I was trying to read and I was like, there's too much information. It's going too fast. So spirits are formed from living non-human beings. Makes sense. That's kind of a traditional spirit. Demons are from living humans, so living humans. Ghosts are from dead humans, and monsters from dead non-humans. So monsters and spirits are kind of the same, and then you have demons and ghosts. So that makes a lot of sense in episode 1 when the Mo clan leader, she was talking about ghosts being around, ghosts coming from the dead humans. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, I love just WuXian and Wangji's banter back and forth is so funny. And WuXian just trying to like get him out of his shell, and just Wangji couldn't take it anymore. But I find the Wen Clan thing interesting, where there's this water ghost, and that was a problem in their area, and they just patched a band-aid. They didn't solve the problem. They didn't get rid of the ghost. They just sent it away. And it's like, that's not solving anything. They're just going to come back and try to attack more people. So that is interesting to me, the idea of you're not doing your job. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're just putting a band-aid on the situation. So, and of course, they ask WuXian what you should do in this situation, and then Wangji explains, first you liberate, then you appeal the sentiment of his family, then you grant his dying wish, and relieve any lingering obsessions, and if that fails, suppress him. And if his crimes are grave and resentful energy persists, exterminate him. And then this is the order of the exorcisms, and that's what you go by. And then WuXian's like, well, yeah, but what if his dying wish was to kill people? Or what about this and that? Why can't we have another option, you know? And they're like, no, those are our only options. If you can't do A, you do B. And he's like, that's a waste. So then the fourth option that he brings out, and of course Wangji's like, fourth option. And I like his little drawing there. The X is, yeah, he would turn into a feral zombie. Yeah, since he executed 100 before he died. So why not, so why not bring back the people that he killed to fight the feral zombie? And they're all like, no. Absolutely not. But yeah, that's so interesting to me. And then of course, going back to what he says during class when Cheng confronts him later about it, they probably think that WuXian's pretty twisted with these ideas. And then, of course, they find his theory interesting, and WuXian's like, what does he say? He's like, if it was something that could be easily done, people have already done it. But he's like, I'm not easily going to go down that dark path. But he ends up doing it. So I'm curious. I guess we're going to find out what drives him to go that route. But he's already thinking of it at this point. And of course, the Land Clan's like, that's going against all of our rules. So, I like that we're getting to establish the dynamic between these characters, because I have a feeling by the end of this season, if all of this is a flashback, then by the end of this season, we're going to know what drove WuXian to do what he did. I'm really curious to know why he killed Ling's mom. Like, that's interesting to me. And of course, that's what made Cheng like go crazy, because that was his sister. I'm curious to know what caused these events to all transpire. And it seemed like that book at the very end had a name on it that WuXian drew in. And I love that he drew the picture of Wangji. He drew a picture of him, but he included the flower to make him seem feminine, which he was like, what? Yeah, in the erotic art. So funny. He's like, what, haven't you seen a naked woman before? And then he's like, oh, you haven't? And it's like, oh. So good, y'all. So good. I really like the dynamic between these two and the stuff that we're setting up. The one boy, he looks like such a cinnamon bun, and I'm like, oh, I don't want anything bad to happen to you, but you seem like one of those characters that something bad's going to happen to them. And I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, we're going to have the water ghost next episode, I'm assuming. We're going to deal with this. But, yeah. So, that was a really good episode. I hope you all enjoyed it too. Please comment down below. Please no spoilers. But if there's anything that I missed or that would be worth noting, please make sure to do so for me. And otherwise, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe and take care. And I'll be back next week with more WuXian. Bye.